Buongiorno ragazzi! Today's video tutorial is about l'articolo indeterminativo, or indefinite articles. To start off, I have for you some examples of indefinite articles in context, so we'll read through and we'll figure out why we need to use this particular grammatical item. So, our first situation is, posso avere una matita? Certo, quale matita vuoi? La matita rosa, per favore. In this mini dialogue, one student is asking another to borrow a pencil. So, if you were in that situation and you wanted to ask the person next to you, can I borrow a pencil? You wouldn't necessarily have a specific pencil that you want to borrow. It could be any pencil that they have on them that they don't mind lending you. So in English as well, we would say, can I have a pencil? Posso avere una matita? All right, here's another mini dialogue, a paragraph. So I'll read this out loud to you. Mi chiamo Giuliano, io ho 11 anni. Io ho una sorella più piccola e una sorella gemella. Io ho un padre e una madre. Io ho un cane bianco e marrone. La mia famiglia è molto bella. All right, so let's take a look at the situations where we use the indefinite articles in this paragraph. First, Giuliano is saying his age, and then he says he has a sister that's younger and a twin sister. Then he says, I have a dad and a mom, and I have a white and brown dog. So when he's talking about his sisters and his mom, he says a sister and a mom by using the indefinite article una. And he chooses una to use here because these words, sorella and madre, are feminine. Now that makes perfect sense because sorella and madre are both words that are talking about people, and they happen to be women, sister and mother. So of course those are going to be feminine nouns. But as you know from your vocabulary, there are many nouns, well, every noun in Italian has a gender, even if it's not a word that's related to a person. So from your unit, some feminine nouns that you've learned include la sedia, la cattedra, la lavagna, and you could, if you wanted to say a board or a teacher's desk, you could say una lavagna or una cattedra. And then here you have a couple examples using a masculine indefinite article. Un padre, a father, and un cane, a dog. So, padre and cane both end in e. That means you can't tell just by looking at them that they're masculine, but padre, means father, so again, that just makes sense that it would be a masculine word. And cane, we've talked about, and you probably know that that's also a masculine noun. So even if the girl is a dog, it doesn't matter. You still need to use the masculine article with the word cane. All right. And then down here, I've got some rules for when we use these different articles. So masculine, and actually, I see I have a little mistake in here. Okay, so that don't start. Use in front of masculine nouns that don't start with a vowel or S plus consonant. Oh, but they can start with a vowel. Okay. Let's make this simpler. Use in front of masculine nouns that start with a consonant, except some exceptions that we're about to see, or a vowel. Okay, so padre starts with a consonant, cane starts with a consonant. You could also use this in front of a word with a vowel, like for example, un orologio. Okay, there we go. And then your feminine indefinite article, una, used in front of feminine nouns that begin with a consonant only. So like sorella, feminine and starts with a consonant, and madre, feminine and starts with a consonant. Okay, there are two more indefinite articles. Io sono uno studente alla scuola media Carlo Urbani. Mi piace la scuola. Io ho un ottimo professore di scienze. Le scienze sono la mia materia preferita. La mia compagna di banco si chiama Claudia. Lei è un'alunna molto seria e brava. Siamo amici, Claudia ed io. All right, so here you get to see the other two indefinite articles that we haven't looked at before, uno and un apostrofo. So uno is going to have some very specific rules, and let me actually type them in here. So uno, I want to use when I have a masculine singular noun that starts with, and these crazy rules, maybe you remember from when we learned the definite article lo, but here they are. So it could start with S plus consonant, like in the word studente. It could start with PS, like in the word, oh, there we go, like in the word psicologo. It could start with GN, like in the word gnomo. And last but not least, it could start with zeta, like in the word zio. Okay, so we'll talk in the next slide a little bit about how you can choose between un and uno, since these rules are a little bit to study and remember. And then finally, un apostrofo. This one's a little bit simpler. It's for feminine nouns only, and the noun has to start with a vowel. Okay, and then just to show you an example of using un in front of a masculine word that starts with a vowel, I have here, io ho un ottimo professore di scienze. Ottimo means excellent or awesome, and you can tell here that it's masculine because it ends in o, and the first letter also a vowel, but I cannot use un apostrofo because that's only for feminine nouns. Okay, so one more time just to summarize. Paolo è un ragazzo. Luigi è uno studente. Uno here because studente starts with S plus consonant, and it's masculine. It's a boy student. Maria è una ragazza. This is feminine and starts with a consonant. And Elena è un'amica di Roberto. So un apostrofo because amica is feminine and starts with a vowel. Okay, and just to review, these all just mean a or an. Okay, here's another view if that helps you a little bit better to see it this way. Masculine can be un or uno. Feminine can be una or un apostrofo. Okay, and here are some examples for you. So, in my first, if you know that the noun is masculine, like here, I've got this picture of a book and you know that a book is libro. So I'm going to get my marker here, so bear with my handwriting. Un libro, I want to say, because libro, here we go, is masculine and singular and starts with a consonant. All right, so let's take a look at our next word, orologio. My options, once again, because I know this is masculine, it ends in o. My options are un and uno. So what do you think I want to use for a clock? Well, let's see here. I got to think about my rules. Un, I'm going to use in front of masculine singular nouns that start with a vowel or consonant, and uno is only for consonant such as S plus consonant, P, S, G, N, or Z. So this one is never used in front of a vowel. This one I can use in front of a vowel, so I'm going to go with un orologio. Okay, over here I've got professore. Now, I can't tell from looking just at this word if I wasn't familiar with it that it's masculine because it ends in e, and e could be either a masculine or a feminine word. But I happen to know that professore is a male teacher, so I'm choosing between un and uno. So let me think. My rules for un are that it can either start with a consonant or a vowel, but uno is S plus consonant, PS, GN, or Z. So here I am starting with a consonant, so it's not an S plus a consonant, it's not a PS or a GN or a Z, so I'm safe to use un again. Okay, and finally I've got studente, which like professore I know is a boy student. So un, consonant or vowel, uno, S plus consonant, PS, GN, or Z. So here I'm starting with an S followed by a T, and that is an S plus consonant, so here I have to say uno. All right, let's take a look at the next slide where we're going to see how to choose between the two feminine indefinite articles, una and un apostrofo. So here we go. Okay. If you know the noun is feminine, like here we have a picture of a chair, which we learned is sedia, and we know that sedia is a feminine noun. So I need to choose between una and un apostrofo. My rule for una is that it starts with a consonant, and my rule for un apostrofo is that it starts with a vowel. So sedia starts with a consonant, that means it has to be una. Next, I've got a picture of a classroom, which I know is aula. Una for ones that start with a consonant, and un apostrofo if it starts with a vowel, and aula starts with a vowel. So I need un apostrofo. Here I've got a picture of a professoressa. Un for a consonant, un apostrofo for a vowel. So starts with P, therefore it has to be una. And finally, studentessa. Once again, this starts with an S, which is a consonant, so I need una. Okay, I hope that this lesson has been helpful, and in bocca al lupo, buono studio!